Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of 0 Point Reviews. I am Jeff, joined as always by Kevin. This time we're doing House 2 from 1987. Kevin, this is the second story. Do you like this one or do you love this one?
I love this one. I love the second story.
As do I.
I loved stairs as a kid, and it's like I always thought they were the coolest thing until I got to be like 35, 38. But, you know, the second story is always cool. And this is cool.
Did you say stairs?
Stairs, yeah.
Like the people under the stairs?
Well, I mean, there was a foal. There was some, yeah. You know, we're already going to 0 Point. I've only seen that once. I saw that movie once. And I want to say it was like just after Brandy and I got together.
Oh, okay.
So like 11 years ago at this point. And I didn't get to see it as a kid, and I hated my parents for it because I really wanted to see the new Wes Craven movie that my cousin said was so scary. And it's so not at all. It's not even fun. It's really quite
all right.
stupid. It's got Ving Rhames in it, which you can never go wrong. But yeah, no, that was not one of those. Oh, Wes Craven's genius moments.
Wes Craven Presents is what it kind of felt like to me. But just to cycle it back around to like House 2, much like that, not nearly as scary as, say, parts of the first one were. It didn't really rely too much on the horror. This one relied a little bit more on horror, comedy, action, adventure, like a little mishmash of everything. Like if you're familiar with like Tremors, but this is a little bit more on the campier side of that. This is that kind of movie, and it's totally fun. I love this one. It's a personal favorite. I saw this well before I ever saw the very first House.
I might have too. Again, thanks to like HBO or Showtime, something to that effect.
HBO or Cinemax for me, but I'm pretty sure I actually saw it in the video store. So I got it on VHS tape, and then for years it was always on like the USA channel for me. So I always saw like parts that way, or was it TBS? It was one of those two. It was one of the super stations for
one
when
of those
it was
Turner
still cable
things.
Yeah, and anytime it would be on TV, I'd watch it. I recorded my own copy. Then eventually, when I had money, I would buy my own VHS copy. I don't have those VHS tapes anymore, but I got DVDs back there, and I got the Arrow Blu-ray set from a few years ago. So, I any excuse I got to bust this out, I will.
If memory serves, they were one of the VHSs that had the extra large cases, weren't they?
I'm not sure, but I would not be surprised if it had a clamshell case.
Yeah. Those, I just remember it being like big and awe-inspiring because of the rotting hand.
The first or the second one?
Both.
Oh man, that'd be pretty dope.
Yeah,
I'd add that to the collection just because I don't have them on VHS. I do have working VCRs, so if I want a VHS tape, I can play them, and I wouldn't just put it on display.
I think it was I know the first one I saw. I don't know about the second one.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure the first one, because it was just like it drew your attention.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Dude, and you know what? That's one of the neat things about horror films that I guess we talk about, but not mention specifically enough. The box art back then used to just like grab you worse than a fish hook.
Oh my god, I know, right?
And this
just
was
the
power
decomposed hand with the key or ringing the doorbell, like whatever you got going. It was awesome.
Oh yeah, or you'd see like your Swords and Sandals movies, like what was the one that I thought was fun until it was on MST?
The Sword and the Sorcerer? No.
No. Fuck. They had a double header of part 1 and 2 in season 11.
Oh, Deathstalker?
No, but that was fun.
Okay.
God, Wizards of something or other. I want to say Waverly Place, but that's a Nick cartoon or show. No. Warriors or Wizards of the Lost Kingdom. Wizards of the Lost Kingdom.
Gotcha. That makes sense. For all of you ST3K fans, yes, we do bring it up from time to time.
Well, I mean, the fact that it's on MST was really kind of happenstance. least I thought at first until I actually watched it as an
Right.
adult. And I was like, oh boy, silliness. But the box art was dope as shit. Like, it
Right.
made you wonder. 0 Point review. Welcome back to House 2, House Boogaloo.
Well, if we're talking about like, art and, things of that nature, like look at the background you got going on for both your screen and like our major screen around us. Like
Oh.
that's from the Arrow release from a couple of years ago, and they keep it going. And I'm not usually a fan of like commissioned art, but some of the stuff is stunning and I absolutely adore it. I wish I could get like a shirt or something with this design on it.
Yeah, that would be pretty fantastic. I mean,
Wish
I'm
they'd
sure.
actually put a poster out, actually.
Well, I'm sure one of us could probably arrange such a thing. But
Probably.
having their blessing would be nice first.
Just reach out to us at SunsAndShadowsInc@gmail.com. There's
Yes,
my show for the episode.
blink once if it's okay. We won't make too many posters and sell.
Of course, I got glare off the screen, so
glare.
my glasses. That's partially why I wear the hat, so you can actually like I got
See your
close
eyes?
enough, you can see my eyes.
Yeah, I was gonna put my glasses on tonight so I could see the cues in front of me, but then I have the problem of you guys not being able to see my eyes, and then it's like these are such an old prescription that it's really counterproductive. The voice in my head goes, "But you're still cute in them, though."
Hey, you're not as old as Gramps, so you could get away with wearing your glasses.
Old as Gramps. Let me show you, just talk about real quick, and we're skipping way far ahead, but that's what we do on this show, I know. Royal Dano, one of my favorite actors, had so much latex and makeup on his face, but he conveyed so much emotion as Gramps with just his eyes and his voice. Like, he was kind of heartbreaking when he saw his hand and saw that he was decomposed.
Right.
Love him for that. And he was the same kind of heartbreaking character in Ghoulies too.
Yeah, to a point. I actually think I like him better in House 2, to be honest with you, because he's got more of a story to him in that he's trying to stay forever young. He doesn't want to die. So it's a nice little subplot going through the episode. Why they have the skull is to try and stay young and not die. And so
Yes.
that's a good like character device for him. And to eventually get to the end where he's like, I'm done. He's gone. That's the end of the story for him.
Little disappointing. I could have done without that, but where else were you really going to take it at that point? He wasn't going to regenerate.
No.
At least I didn't.
But there was heart in his performance, and you really felt that. Like for a campy horror movie, like a whole lot of comedy, there's quite a bit of heart to this movie. That's probably why we like it as much as we do.
Yes, there is. There's a lot of heart in this. There's a lot of family elements. Like the very moment that the boys dig up Gramps. Just work with me here. The very moment that they dig up Gramps, this becomes a family flick. Like, I'm sorry.
House 2. I can't do a Fast and Furious.
I've got you. House Harder. Yeah.
Two House Too Hard.
Yes. What was Ari's character's name?
Jesse.
Jesse, yes. Because, Jesse Jr. Once 0 Point again. Once Jesse and Charlie dig up Gramps, like Jesse didn't know his parents because, again, obviously his parents were killed by Slim,
right?
Which in itself was comical. Like you can't shoot a shotgun with somebody like clutching your arm as tight as they can in fear.
Well, exactly. He wasn't exactly aiming that thing. He was just holding the shotgun as they were walking towards the door.
I suppose, but I mean, if you're just gonna hold something, like, make use of it.
Hey, it's not Griswold Christmas where she's grabbing his nuts while he's firing. You're welcome, everybody, for that visual.
It becomes a sense of Jesse's getting to be a kid again with Gramps, and Charlie is very much that brotherly figure, and it's just so much goddamn fun. Yeah, I cracked the joke about Vin Diesel, but it really is a family flick. Like,
oh, it really is about family. Yeah.
Yeah.
And ultimately about the relationships that they were in that are gone by the end of the episode. And they all found like a nice new center spot for them. Like, hey, this is where we're going now, and this is what we're doing. And now we're off into the sunset. Not trying to get into the ending yet, but like just that whole, they both start with relationships that really aren't for the best of them, Charlie and Jesse, and they work their way through to the end, and they're both on a new path at the end.
Okay, so I got to get this out of the way first. I want to say hooray, thank you, and you're wonderful to Lar Park Lincoln. You are awesome, and we've been fans for a super long time. That having been said, fuck Kate. I can't stand her ass.
Well, she was so easily convinced that Jesse was hooking up with Rochelle. I'm like, how long have you been with Jesse? Has he ever shown any slight inclination of that other than your boss trying to get you in bed?
Yeah, who is like
he's clearly up to his own for his own personal gain to get you in bed and get away from Jesse. Like, I know we'll get to Bill at some point here, but like that whole bitch, what are you doing? You bought that? You seriously don't believe in Jesse at all. Wow, princess. Get off your high horse. And Lar, I love you. I'm just talking about Kate. Please don't ignore us.
Because that bitch Kate is just a character.
Yep.
Now, that having been said, yes.
She did it great.
Bill was truly trying to get into Kate's pants.
Oh,
yeah. And she's even asking, Valium. I need a Valium.
And he's like, shit, I don't carry that particular drug on me. That's what it looked like he was doing. It's like, what would have been funny is if he was pulling out like a joint. He was pulling out a couple pill bottles, and he's like, this isn't the shit I normally carry for my women, you know?
I mean, it was the 80s.
Yeah, true. He could have had a little packet of cocaine, a little syringe. Could have been throwing all of his drug paraphernalia everywhere.
Gross.
I know. It's not Bill's speed.
No. Well, that we're aware of. But now, that having been said, fuck that guy.
Moving on.
Fuck that guy. Moving along.
We talked about this before. We've done other shows and whatnot where we've talked about Bill and House 2 in depth. And we're just like, how long should we really talk about him? And is he even worth it?
No.
Like regardless of his political opinions, he's kind of a dick behind the scenes to a lot of people. So it's like, it's really hard to, he basically played himself in this movie, in my opinion.
Yes. So you can't be like, oh, he sucked in this fucking movie. No, he was actually quite perfect in the part.
Yeah.
And I hate that I have to fucking compliment him for that. But it's true.
Well, that's what the role asked for, and you got it. Pretty much.
Yeah. It is. And personally, my issue with him, aside from having to be Mr. Captain Hot Take, like we're 20 years past that fucking type of talk show. It's not fucking popular, cool, or fun anymore.
Right.
Talking shit about Stan Lee and the people that look up to him after he passed away, there's probably a special place in hell for you, fucker. I'm not one to judge, but, there's probably some gonorrhea, syphilited type of fucking torture for you in hell.
We'll send Slim after you.
Fuck Slim. You know what's scarier than Slim? And
His
I didn't.
Voice?
No.
Because I could kind of mimic it.
A little bit of laryngitis there.
I was doing it the other night when I was watching the movie. But anyway.
we'll get back to that. Don't let that go. But I don't think I even really caught this before. When you're sitting there supposed to be looking at Slim, there's a stuffed fucking horse in that room.
Yep.
Someone mounted a horse.
Yep.
Who does that? That's gross.
People into taxidermy? I don't know. Norman Bates?
I guess. Like,
That would have been kind of funny if they had like a Bates taxidermy sign somewhere in the room or on a business card somewhere. Just as a little nod. There's not too many nods in the movie, but to at least to the movie's point, a little bit later, Slim has his skeleton horse that he's riding on, that demonic freaking looking thing. And that was super cool. So at least it gives you a little bit of a maybe that horse was de-skinned and that's what he was riding.
Let's see. You mean this'n?
Oh, yeah. That's the innards they took out of the stuffed horse, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
Man, that looks like something on a Lord of the Rings, a ringwraith's riding one of them fucking horses.
Yes, or Ghost Riders in the Sky, as it were. Which I guess he kind of was.
There was a cartoon with skeletons in the West, and they were riding horses. Somebody please correct me on that in the comments below. I can't remember that right now.
Skeleton Warriors was the Viking type thing, wasn't it?
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
It could have been. I don't know. Like I said, the picture I sent you the other day of the fucking Visionaries, the action figures that had the holograms in their chest.
Yeah.
So cool at the time, but not really in hindsight.
Yeah.
Anyway. House 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Woohoo.
Oh, no, we already did House Harder. I'm out.
Well, I'll say this for sure. If you wanted a Crystal Skull movie you ever wanted to see, this is the only one worth watching.
Oh, so yes.
Hey, somebody had to say it. Just saying. I've seen a bunch of movies with Crystal Skull in it. This is you did do a picture. Oh, cool.
I couldn't be upset at this one, though. I really couldn't. Because, it made sense. Unlike Indiana Jones, this was somewhat okay. It made sense to a story that Gramps and Slim went down into Mexico or the jungles, wherever they were at, to find this thing, or did find it. Lord, who knows? They could have even been after the Fountain of Youth, or this thing is the Fountain of Youth.
Could be.
Made for a much more believable story or adventure type of story than Indiana Jones finding it.
Yeah.
With aliens. So I was kind of like, I'm not upset at it with this. It doesn't make this stupid to me at all.
No, I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it does do that for me with Indy. And I'm sorry, it just wasn't a good movie.
Yeah, that's got its own set of problems, but at least for this one, I had to make that. I didn't even know you made a picture, so I wrote this down. The Crystal Skull movie you need to see, not wish you hadn't ever seen.
Kinda. This one's way cooler, and unlike the other one, more people actually want this skull.
Well, it's the main gimmick in the movie, or MacGuffin, as anybody would call it. Like, it serves the purpose to pretty much the entire plot. Everybody wants the damn thing for different reasons. You got the savage primate from caveman era. He wants it. You got like the Aztec Mayans that they want later on, that they got to rescue the virgin from. Yes, we've seen one before. And, it continues all the way through, even between Slim and Gramps. And so I'm super pleased. It didn't feel like it was too much of a stretch. The movie basically stayed in its own lane. It set up its universe, and it felt like it hit the ground running, and it didn't really let up. There's really no slow spots for the movie, and the skull parts never slowed it down. In fact, anytime the skull was featured, it felt like the story was escalating every single time.
It does, and they gave it lore. Where is it? We have it right here. Exactly what you said. The moment Gramps plugs that skull up into the altar there, he tells him, remember, though, boys, this house is a temple. And he kind of gives it that exposition there that the house is going to wake up and do such grandiose things that they can't even expect.
And at least they didn't freak out like super hard whenever things were happening too.
No, they didn't. And that was the funnier part. Like,
yeah.
For example, when they've got to go get the skull from the caveman or the barbarian, whatever he was,
Yep.
He opens the door, shuts it, and turns to Charlie. There's a jungle in there.
Charlie's like, really?
So very matter-of-factly. But since we've talked about him a couple times, like, this is the best shot that they give you of this guy, of how fucking huge he is.
Little nippy in here.
So this is going to go in a series. I apologize. So they have him...
The nipple counter.
They try to show... Well, no. In hindsight, they're showing how massive this guy is by having him stand right next to Kane Hodder.
God, yeah.
And, worth noting...
In a gorilla suit.
This is the only picture of Kane Hodder that you will probably ever see smiling. Just before he takes a long leap from this guy. And again, Kane Hodder's a master stuntman. That was all him doing this amazing stunt work.
Yeah. Well, I think he was the stunt coordinator on this movie, if I remember right.
I believe you're right. I think so.
I didn't bother to look at I mean, I've known this before, but I think it's correct.
I want to say so because he's the only person that I really saw like giving direction in the special features that I saw as far as like where things need to be.
Well, I know Sean is a big fan of his, and they've worked together quite a bit through the years. So
I tried showing my wife that scene today. She had zero fucks to give. She's like, yeah, I know who that is, and I don't care. And I'm like, but baby, it's cool.
Wife, I should get like a little clip ready. Wife, not approved. Denied.
No, most of what we do is denied.
I mean, I could probably get Amy to watch this myself, but she'd find it funny, but she wouldn't, I don't know. Probably not. But I could be surprised. She's like the original Halloween. She's like, that's actually pretty good. So I could be right. I could be wrong. She might get a kick out of this. I don't think she'd like it as much as I do, though.
Well, again, it's a family film. There's lots of family fun. Going right back to where we were with the 0 Point, going into the jungle, it's still a family film.
House 3, Tokyo Drift.
Tokyo Drift. Woohoo!
Certainly beats the horror show. This is honestly the last good house movie in the 4-movie series.
Oh, horror. I thought you said horse. And I was like, it was scary. I didn't like it.
No, if you want horse, I'll do that horrible voice for you.
No, sir, but don't like it. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Give me the skull.
Well played, sir. Well done.
I could probably do a little better if I was actually practicing it, but
get a little bit of lung butter in there just for the sake of it. Now, but the voice, for as silly as it is, very much matches that face.
And the bullet Graham's put in his head.
I love that. It's such the fine detail. I put a bullet in his head. And he really is this big, dark, scary, looming boogeyman type figure with an itty-bitty living space.
I wish they didn't call him like the Undertaker or something. That might have been a copyright infringement claim if there ever was one.
Oh, not yet. Not yet.
He'd have to be wearing all black.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He was pretty close, though.
The Slim looked pretty freaking sick and gnarly. I've always remembered enjoying that growing up. Like, man, those prosthetic effects are awesome.
Both movies are, which leads me
Yeah.
to a question. Whom do you find more terrifying, Big Ben or Slim Razor?
In physicality, probably Big Ben. As far as like shooting and cunning, more on Slim.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I want to say, just agreeing with you, the brutality and grotesqueness of it, probably Big Ben.
Yeah.
Because he's just, his statue is enormous.
Yeah,
Slim,
he's
not so much.
yeah,
Different
he's not
kind of scary.
imposing. They tried to do shots to make him look way more imposing, but for the most part, he mostly just stood still for most of the shots, and then he had limited movement otherwise. I don't know if that was done on purpose or what the idea was, but ultimately he was a worthy adversary for Jesse and Charlie, and Gramps too.
Yes, which I would have liked to have seen him and Gramps fight just a bit more.
A little shootout, maybe.
Yeah, this was long past Royal Dano's stunt days, so you can't really begrudge that. Another thing that they did in this movie, since we're already at the end anyway, Ghost World is back with all these beautiful sets with no sky, no background, no stars, no nothing. And it's so cool. Like, it just makes it so they could film in a studio with a black backdrop and still have you interested in watching this movie, still have you intrigued as to where the characters are. It's neat.
Yeah. Films
like that don't happen anymore.
No, I really liked how this ended up going, though.
Yeah. This is like the 1980s, of course, were this wonderful era of horror just for us, like
magical
sick puppies like us, where everything got to its pinnacle point. Like,
the sweet spot.
Yeah, they got about as far as they can get with slasher movies and all that, and demonic movies. Special effects, that was about as high as they can go before they went into CG, and then it all just kind of sucked. But it was just really great. Now we get to talk about things like that instead of watch them. Well, no, I guess we are.
A little bit of nostalgia, but it's all in out of love. Like, this is what we grew up with, and clearly we have a very sweet spot in our hearts for this particular movie and everything that comes with it. I love Charlie as a secondary character. I love how he starts off as like this drunk partier, and the running gag through the movie of the cars always clipping part of the brick little pillar coming for the walkway up to the house. That was funny. They did it twice with the Alfa Romeo, then they did it once with a cop car, and it's just a nice little running gag. But like, for Charlie, I just totally enjoy his character, and that he comes around and gets way more, like, he gains more confidence in himself, and he doesn't have his girlfriend anymore. She took off with the record label too, and he's not hooking up with a virgin. That's now Jesse's girl. And it's just, I like all the character arcs, and from Gramps to Jesse to Charlie. Like, there's no better trio, and I think they did great. And ended off with Devin DeVasquez running off with Jesse as the virgin, or maybe she's not anymore.
At least we'd hope. But to your point, Mayer didn't get to leave with the virgin either, because of course he left with Lana and Kate, but primarily Lana. Charlie, your moment that you were talking about with him having that confidence, I think it's because he had a moment with getting to hang out with Gramps too. Racing the car, drunk as shit, was absolutely amazing. And again, you can't get in trouble for letting a zombie drive your car drunk. Cannot.
That's true. Well, it's funny, even Gramps called himself a zombie too.
Yeah, right. But I love this picture here of Charlie's smile. Like, that is the most sincere smile that I've ever seen on an actor's face. Like, they were just having fun.
Yeah, man.
It's a Slimly movie.
Yeah. I just love the actors in this movie. They really looked like they were all having a good time and got that invested in the characters. And with like Ethan's script and directing, even though Sean was still producing, like it this just worked from beginning to end. I didn't really feel like there was too many flaws, if any, in this movie. Could it have been more serious? Sure. Could it have been scarier? Sure. But then you still wouldn't have gotten this movie. And they weren't trying to replicate the first one. They were trying to do something different, but familiar at the same time. And sometimes, sequels to movies, they misunderstand what they should be going for, and they either go way too far one way or another way, and they completely miss the point. And so we end up getting like horrible trilogies that they never get the magic back from the first one. This one kind of kept it, even though it was still a different movie. They didn't go too crazy because there's an audience out there for both House 1 and House 2. Some prefer one over the other, but I'm a fan of both. But if I have to give the edge to one, I'm going part 2.
I think I'm going to have to agree with you. Golly, it feels wrong to say because, the original is always supposed to be the better one. But I really like Charlie and Jesse. I love Gramps. And again, puppets. There are puppets in this and stop motion animation.
Oh, yeah. Love the stop motion in this. I know it looks horribly dated now, but I don't care. It looks great.
It looked just as good as the Flying Skull in the first movie, which looked just as good as Ray Harryhausen's skeletons in not Clash of the Titans, Jason and the Argonauts. Yeah. From the Hydra Chiefs. I love that sort of thing. So I mean that was just extra points rather than taking points away. I know people could be a little bit too critical of older movies of the lack of technology, but it adds personality for me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And you could, when you see that, you almost hear that music from Jason and the Argonauts, where the king of oh shit, what was the anyway, the king's going, look there and there, more shit's coming out over there. It's like, well, you knew what was going to happen. Why are you so fucking surprised?
Could be worse. It could be Puce Glitz and the Avoiders. Which is the weirdest freaking name I've ever heard for a band. Thank God it was fictional.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. I actually wrote it down too. I'm like, I've heard it, but I've never actually seen. I put the subtitles on just because I was curious if I wanted to write down any quotes instead of rewinding and rewinding and rewinding for it. But yep, it's Puce Glitz and the Avoiders was the name of Lana and her band.
The new Madonna of the 80s.
Which the music didn't sound really all that wonderful. And the fact that, that they bought into that as the newest thing, I was like, no, I'd rather give Harry Manfredini, the keys to the kingdom for putting out a soundtrack album more than anything.
Well, kind of, yeah. And again, this soundtrack's very much like the first one, where I said it's got the suspense building music with the violins, like several screeching as fast as they can. I love this score. You don't hear it often, but it's better than yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to speak ill.
Yeah, we'd like to bring up talking about the score and the soundtracks, mostly because we're big fans of these movies, and this is just another great aspect to a lot of the movies out there. Now, not every movie we cover has a very great score, and it's just kind of, it's there. But when they pop like these, we want to make sure that we talk about them. And I wish I could find a score CD or soundtrack anywhere for these. I'd love it.
Oh gosh. Well,
I've looked, but I don't see them, so I don't know what the deal is with that. Sean Cunningham, come on, buddy. You can't make a Friday the 13th, so how about you get back to house, bro?
Yeah, really. I mean, we'll write a script for really cheap once the strike is over, of course, because we don't believe in scab work. But anyway, we would like this franchise re-expounded upon. Maybe retcon the last two features. I don't know.
Give us a house 3 and get a couple of cheers, people that are still kicking around, because this one had a super fun one with John Ratzberger. So I loved him in this one. He's so much fun.
I lost everything you just said. Who was so much fun?
John Ratzberger, bro.
Oh, Cliff. I love him so much too. He once he shows up, he's fun as hell. Bill Towner has the answer for everything.
I love how he has a hammer going like he's going to use the claw portion of it while having an actual saber in the other hand.
So, Towner. I also wanted to show this one. This is like the quintessential Cliff face. I love this part. And the funny thing is he's looking for the electrical problem with a fucking rad meter, isn't it?
It kind of looks like it, yeah.
You half expect it to start clicking and shit the closer it gets to the light.
I love everything he did. He was just acting like some sort of Ghostbuster extraordinaire, and I loved how he was pulling out the electric wire from the wall, and he's like, "Oops." And also, really, he's so casual when he's talking to Jesse and Charlie about you got something going on with an alternate reality in here. I've seen something like this before. I'm like, what? Where did you ever see something like this before?
And he's sitting there trying to tell him, yeah, exactly. Now listen here, you guys, when this sort of thing happens, and then he pulls out this wonderful sword out of his fucking toolkit.
Well, at first he's like, I'm not really going to, if you guys are going to go do that, okay. Then he's like, hell with it, I'll join you. And then he's got the string, and then they go rescue the virgin. And then they come back, and he's already out there, putting everything away. Wait, how the fuck did you get back out there?
And he's got that business card. I didn't get a shot of it, but I wanted to, the Bill Towner electrician and adventurer.
Yep.
I'm glad that they kept it with Cliff and Norm. I think we talked about it last week. It would have been funny if they would have gotten Woody, maybe in the third one, but
not in the horror show.
No. And again, I don't even want to see the third one. It's nothing against it necessarily, but from what I have heard, I don't want it to sully the actual house movies that I do like.
They try and actually go way too serious with the third one, and that kind of backfires. It kind of takes away all the charm that there was going on to House 1 and 2.
Sure, because Haunted House.
I get it, but that's not the way the movie franchises was going.
No. And what makes House so singular and individual is it's not Amityville. All haunted house movies are either House on Haunted Hill or Amityville. That's pretty much the only story you could really do in a horror film with ghosts in a haunted house. Unless it's something like this, where there's monsters that come out from other dimensions. It's like there was no seriousness to it. Gonzo 100%. And it worked. So I can't see a house movie not having any of that charm to it. Otherwise, you're just calling it's just Amityville.
Yeah, and I'm not that familiar with Amityville. I got a couple in the collection that I've seen, and I've seen some of the later sequels where they're very much house centric. Yeah, they're okay, but this is my kind of jam, is what this kind of house kind of franchise presents to it. The first, the second, and the fourth one are more kind of in tune with each other. The third one's just kind of like the random stepchild. So sorry to all stepchildren out there of the world.
We salute you.
Real men of genius.
So since we've hit a lull, in that time, we've come to a part where Slim is still alive.
He's lost his head.
He's just lost his head. And I thought that he was going to get wasted, basically suicide by cop, which I guess is kind of what happened, but not. And I like what they did better with, again, yeah, he shot the sheriff, which was quite funny.
But he didn't shoot the deputy. Oh,
he did not, because this motherfucker, he's got rage in that face right there.
Yep.
And they start shooting, and that's what kills Slim.
Isn't that Cunningham?
Is it?
I don't know. I haven't seen a young picture of Cunningham in a long time. I don't know. But that'd be funny.
It would. And then he lights this whiskey decanter, and it lights the whole house on fire.
Ruined a perfectly good bottle of whiskey. I'm gonna cry.
Kinda. But then at
least I like whiskey, everybody. Whiskey and scotch. So that's a hard pill to swallow.
You and my family.
I should get a glass and toast to it.
You made a purdy fire, which fortunately, like, the house would remain, most of it. I mean, everything inside.
Yeah, most of the Aztec stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that part would have been fine. But we see Jesse having nothing left. Gramps is dead. Charlie's gone. The Virgin's gone with Charlie. So we know how that goes. And we've got this wonderful scene here where he just looks down the hallway and the house is basically calling him to safety.
Like, yeah, time to go.
Yeah. And then, you know, it ends with it being, again, a family film.
You didn't put Paul Walker in there, so at least you didn't do that.
Oh, goodness. You know what? But I did.
Oh, no. Oh, my God.
That's where I'll apologize. That was probably unnecessary.
Dom. And I make the joke. I've only seen like 2 of them.
I haven't seen any of them, and I make the joke because, yeah, you probably just shouldn't fly down a 55-mile-an-hour road at 110. You shouldn't drive down a 25-mile-an-hour road at 110.
You shouldn't drag a 3-ton safe through the streets of Chicago, so I guess you can't do that either.
Or an ATM machine. They're so fickle about shit.
Yeah, they could have dropped to that on Slim set. That would have been interesting too.
That would have been interesting too. No, I liked Slim, but my only problem or gripe with Slim is exactly what you said, and that's that he didn't have a whole lot of mobility to him. Like,
right.
It was neat editing shots of puppet being moved around, and that's fine. It wasn't like the character that they had or the actor that they had in Big Ben.
Yeah, I didn't feel like he was moving around all that much. It felt like he just was kind of like shifting into a place or two. Like, you think he's in one room, he's actually in another room. They did the same with Ben, but at least Ben, he'd take 3 steps and it's like, oh shit, this fucker's on me.
Yeah, Ben could move.
Yeah.
You could see Ben's feet.
I'm wondering if they kind of just played to the actor's strengths and just kept it simple. Didn't want to go too complicated, you know, because he's on par with Gramps. Probably limited mobility, age, whatever. But, you know, they got enough intimidation out of the look he had. So I'm pretty chill with that.
Yeah, I mean, the bullet hole in the middle of the head, the sunken in eyes.
Yeah.
The God, what's his name? Claw from Inspector Gadget. That voice, like, he was scared.
Gadget.
Yeah. That voice in the dark that you hear in the middle of the night. That one.
Give me the skull.
I'm using it. Wait. Sorry. So, but yeah, I mean, this flick's fun. This is one of those.
I wish it had merch too, like a goddamn shirt, you know, figures, a mock crystal skull on a pedestal. I'd totally be game.
Yeah.
It wasn't that much of a success. I saw the box office numbers, like back when it first came out, its opening weekend was like 2.8 million, and it kept her off around like 7.9. So it wasn't like this big hit, but years through video stores and whatnot, it's gotten a bit of a cult following. So at least it's got that going to it.
I'd say so, yeah. And it's certainly not going to be one of those 80s movies that gets forgotten anytime, like
Right.
at all. Yeah. And there's a lot of good disc distributors at this point that are making it less and less, where you get movies like Body Parts or Frankenstein Unbound, where it's like, that was cool back then, but I haven't seen it since whenever. Yeah, I just zero-pointed again.
Body Parts got a Blu-ray from Scream Factory, I believe.
Yes. And
I don't have that one though. But
no, and I don't remember who did Frankenstein Unbound, but I don't think it was Scream.
I want to say Vinegar Syndrome, but I might be wrong.
All right. I just remember the poster as a kid. That was another one.
Oh yeah.
I had the poster. Never saw the movie, but I had the poster and thought it was cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, at least the themes of having a decomposing hand messing with a doorknob or a lock actually played a role in the movie. It wasn't some random thing that has nothing to do with the movie at all.
Yeah, unlike other 80s box art. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The funny thing is Grizzly is about a grizzly bear, but it's not remotely as cool as you see it on the front of the box. Like,
Right.
that bear's not in it. I want to see a movie with that bear.
It's all the one that actually plays well is Alligator.
Yes.
The original one anyway. Not the second one. The second one's a bit goofy.
I only vaguely remember the second one. Of course, I only vaguely remember the first one too, even though I still own it for almost a year at this point.
Yeah.
No, actually, yeah, it's been over. Anyway, but that pretty much told you what you were getting into, same as Lake Placid.
Right.
Yeah, it was just a big alligator. That's my 0-point again. I apologize.
That's what we do here on this series of videos. Kevin, you got anything else for us? Did you do any polls?
The poll, yes, we asked people which story they liked better, House 1 or 2. And it was more landslide-ish than I wanted it to be.
Uh-oh.
A little more uneven than I wanted it to be, but still even enough to where I'm like, okay. House 1 had a preference rate of 61% over House 2, which had 39%.
Yeah.
But everyone had comments like Troy Hare had, which said House 2 is right up there with Waxwork 2 in terms of being pure, unadulterated, self-aware 80s cheese. Yes.
2 Through the Portal of Time or whatever it's called?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't it?
I think so.
I'll have to look that one up. That's also a Scream Factory thing. Much as I love the original, both of those in the series, the sequels are way more fun. And I gotta say that is the case. It's not to say that the first movie isn't funny or it's not scary. It is both of those, and it blends well. This movie is just a lot of fun, and it's because of things like Bill Towner, electrician and adventurer.
Absolutely love that.
Yeah. So, but I mean, all ends well that, went well for the most part. Maybe have a virgin here. Charlie's happy. Jesse's happy. And they lived happily ever after until someone bought the intellectual rights to the House franchise and sold the whole damn thing with House 3. The House.
That's awesome.
I told you I'd get the house thing in there somewhere.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
Well, I don't know, man. Thank you for letting us do this one again. I like coming back to House again and again.
Yeah, this one's it's so much fun. I mean, we could talk about this thing for another couple of hours, but we want to keep these somewhat to the point and more than 15 or 20 minutes. So thank you everybody for tuning in to 0 Point Reviews with Kevin and Jeff covering House. If you like this video, please hit the like button. Comment below. Do you like this movie? Do you have a favorite part of it? Do you prefer the first one? Please let us know down below in the comment section, and please give us a subscribe. We're working our way towards 200. So thank you for everybody for tuning in. See you all next time.
Take care. Oh, and no one tell Lar Park Lincoln what I said about Kate.
Yeah, no.
No.
Make sure you check us out on all of our social media platforms. We got Facebook, Twitter. We are at Suns and Shadows. We're also on Instagram at Suns and Shadows Cast. We are at SunsAndShadows.com. Thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you down the road.